Hello. Hi, Scooter Mom. But you have to tell me more about this ketamine infusion. I've heard things about it. I've never heard anybody in my area getting it done. So I don't know that much about it. I've heard it works. I've heard it's for different things. So we'll have to talk about it offline more. I'd be interested. Oh, I was watching a video. I've been watching this guy from China. He's Chinese, but he lives here, talking about China. And he does a lot of videos on things they fake in China. And oh my goodness. It made me go in my pantry and look at everything I had because I'm really good at, like, when I'm on Temu, I don't order anything from there that I put food in that touches my food. No, like, skincare, nothing like that. It gets your muscles to relax. Oh. See, I'll go back to the China thing. I get trigger point injections for that every 4 weeks. And yeah, I've had the seizing. It was earlier on in the fibro when my whole body would seize up sometimes. So I understand what that's like. I get it. But nobody ever offered me that because TRICARE, the military insurance, they don't cover chiropractic, and they probably wouldn't. They don't cover anything like out of the box kind of stuff. So I will mention it to my doctor, see what he thinks about it. I could use that. I'm so tight in my upper body that uh, it's just uncomfortable all the time. Yeah, and I have the anxiety a lot. I've had that forever. But yeah, so I may bring up some videos later if people come on and you guys are interested. So the thing about China is they fake food. And this guy does these videos called Everything in China is Fake. And they serve it to each other. It's not even stuff they export. If they're willing to do that to each other, ew. Oh, okay. My husband has the restless leg. So I'm going to mention it because he goes to the same pain management clinic that I do. So, but it made me go in my pantry and look for anything that was from China because I go to an Asian store every once in a while. And I did. I had a package of dried mushrooms. Dried mushrooms. What could be wrong with that? I turned it over and I had seen the label, but I was thinking, well, maybe it's just something. Actually, I don't know if I've seen the label, but I think I had seen it on other things in that store. And I'm like, well, I don't know why they would do it. There was a warning: dried mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, can cause cancer or harm to birth defects or something like that. I was like, I threw that in the trash. Thank God I had only used it once. It was a big bag. I'm like, the stuff that they do and the stuff that they fake, I had to stop watching. It was making me sick. Ugh. So they literally make fake rice. Literally, you'll get rice. It's plastic. The worst part, I literally have to put my hand over the picture sometimes. My stomach can't handle it. When I was younger, I could. I can't now. Fake meat, fake beer, fake wine. They literally make beer with these chemicals and sell it. It's not beer. And the worst part was the gutter oil. The gutter oil. It's exactly what I said. Gutter oil. They literally go out to the gutter and scoop out cooking oil from like a restaurant to use in the restaurant. And I just told my husband because I sent him a couple of videos. I've been watching this for the last week. I'm like, if they know they're going to do that, why don't they just do it in the restaurant? I know, ew. You know, and filter it there or whatever. And I did see a title where a banker or businesswoman died from it. The thing is about the Chinese government, they don't care when people die. I mean, I've watched their EVs cars are blowing up, killing their people. Then they downplay it, they hide it. They showed a guy got electrocuted in an electric car. They downplayed it, said he didn't die from electrocution, but they did. It was on video, and they'll come to your house and threaten you to make you stop talking. This is how much they're in your business in China. Halloween, this past Halloween, they were out in force, the police and stuff. And if you had on a costume that they thought wasn't the right costume, you got taken in. Now, someplace they were just putting them in a hotel, like taking them off the street. They called a guy who ordered a costume online. They called him on the phone and said, "We saw you ordered such and such a costume. You cannot wear that out." Oh, wow. I was like, wow. They knew what he ordered online. I'm like, you can't do anything over there. I'm watching, so we watched a few videos when Tom woke up earlier. And they got phones exploding that they make. And tofu drag. Have you ever heard of tofu drag? I just learned about this a couple weeks ago. Okay, tofu drag, D-R-E-G, is what's left over when you make tofu. Their buildings that they're building, that people, the only thing they can invest in is property, like a house, an apartment or a condo or house, but you can only own it for 70 years. These people are putting their whole life savings into these houses. They're finding styrofoam in their walls. They're showing holes down to the apartment below them. Rebar that's stretched too thin. They had a building just fall over. An apartment building just fall over. Because everybody has to get their cut and there's no money left over for a decent production. Same thing goes into their roads and their bridges. People fall into sinkholes, roads wash away, bridges fall down. I gotta show you. Yeah. Hold on. Give me just a second. All right. Let me find it on YouTube because you will die. All right. Let me bring him up. I got him on my tablet right now. Let's see. China Insider. Let's see. When I'm doing this, I can't see myself in the picture. So, okay. China Insider. I don't know how to do it so I can see it too. Insider. With dang. Okay. Okay. So this guy, he's like Chinese, right? I gotta find the best ones. Oh, you're gonna hear it. You know what? I'm gonna have to okay, give me a second. I'm gonna have to put my headphones on so you guys don't hear it while I'm playing it. All right. Let's take this off. Because I'm out to, when I find something that works good or I find something that's ridiculous, I want to share it. Like to the whole world. Because I've been really careful on like Temu or anything like that. I'm very careful about getting anything from China. Plastic bins or, the fans I bought, no big deal. But I won't buy dishes or anything to put food in. I know better. I won't buy skincare or anything like that. So, all right, let me find a good one. Let's see. Why all fake? Let's see. Let's find one. He has China Fakes Everything, volume 1 through 4. I have to find it. One I've seen. I couldn't believe it. I knew, we know what China is like. Okay, here's one. Let's see if I can figure out how to. All right. Let's see. Present. Oh, nope. Ah. I'm trying to figure out how to bring it over. Share screen. There we go. This site will be able. Okay. Ah. Okay, I don't want to be that big though. I want it to be bigger. Let me figure out how to do that. Holy moly. Oh, wait a minute. How do I make that stop? I'm confused. All right. Let's see. I haven't done this. I don't know if I've done this. I did it with Wikipedia one time. That was about it. So. Okay. Let's go back. Hi, Mr. Fraud. How are you? I am trying to share something and I'm learning on the go. Also, okay. Tap audio. I did this with Wikipedia, but I hadn't done it with a video yet. I don't want to get this. See, I don't know how to get rid of that. Let me try. I don't know why I'm getting that infinity thing. That may not work. I don't know why that's happening. You have the tab ready on your browser? Yes. And when I go to sharing the tab, it asks me, which I've never seen before. So I go to share screen and it choose what to share, Microsoft Edge tab, window or entire screen. Select tab to share. So I click the site and or its entire screen. Let me try that. See what happens. Use Chrome. Oh, yeah. Let me try. All right, let me cancel that. Let me try that. Well, I did it with Wikipedia just fine. I didn't have trouble at all. I don't know why. Maybe because this is a video, I'm not doing it right. I don't need that. Well, anyway, I'll try to figure that out. But what I was talking about, Mr. Fraud, is China. Don't eat or buy anything food related or anything from China. Oh, the stuff I've been watching this week. I had to stop watching. It was making my stomach upset. It really was. Okay, let's try. Share screen. I do window, not that. It's not working. I don't know why. It's weird. I never got asked that question when it was just like Wikipedia or something. It was easy. Yeah, learn every day. And go to this guy. I'll put the link in the description, but he's called China Insider with David Zhang, Zhang. That guy, he's Chinese. He even talked about what he sounds like he's been here for a while. He's hardly has an accent at all. But he talked about these fake sausages on a stick he would get after school, and he found out they're completely fake. And he said it ruined his childhood snack. StreamYard to be in Chrome. Yeah, that might be the issue. I don't want to switch and it get kicked off. But yeah, so I don't know if you can see it sideways. Not really. But I sent some to my husband. I'm like, I go to an Asian store, but I do look at things. And luckily, most of the sauces and stuff I bought, I looked at, they're made in the United States, even though they're an Asian sauce. Thank goodness. Because you can't, if they're poisoning their own people, they're literally poisoning each other and they know it. There's no telling what they'll do with exports. So beware. And then I watched a short documentary the other day because my husband keeps saying we have to worry about China, not so much like attacking us like as a military force. What they're doing now is they're investing heavily in countries, buying property, it's economic. But they're not as like economically successful as they want us to believe. They're actually, because of so much fraud and just what they call the tofu drag, these buildings that literally are made out of crap materials. They started building what would be like either the tallest or close to the tallest tower and had to stop because the materials that were being used were substandard, and it's still standing there half unfinished. It can still fall over like these other buildings did. And I was just like, they had an earthquake, I want to say 2014, but don't quote me on that. You know how I am with numbers. That wouldn't have had as much damage if it's the buildings in the last 20 to 30 years. If they're older, they're better. They had like 4,000 kids die in this earthquake because their schoolhouses collapsed. It's heartbreaking. Just because their stuff is collapsing. Because they said the older buildings were in much better shape. They had 68,000 people die and 4.5 million people didn't have a house. And the thing is, you've got no recourse. If you put all of your money into this, they say buying a house, it's more like an apartment or a condo most of the time. And they give you substandard building, there's nowhere to go because all the politicians took their cut. You can't complain. They show people like kneeling in front of like council buildings because they've lost their whole life savings. They showed people, okay, so there was this apartment building that was only finished to where it had like cement floors and the beams. It was all open. And these people were living in it with plastic walls and cooking over a fire because they had sunk their whole life savings into it and it never got finished. I'm like, I could not believe that. No, you guys were fine on the bed when I started. Go on. Go to bed. She laid her head on my knee like I'm going to let her come up here. Go to bed. Go to bed. I'm just like, I said I was surprised somebody didn't get their legs broken. You know, your whole life savings is gone because some business took it and didn't build your house. I'm just like, because I know other Asian countries, if you file bankruptcy, that is like the worst thing ever. And you still have to pay your debt. And if you don't pay your debt, your family has to pay your debt. So I watched, it was a fictional movie or show. The dad disappeared because of his debt. And the wife and the sons had to pay the debt. So you don't get out of debt like some places. You still have to cover it. But I'm like, so they get you for your debt, but yet if they owe you, nothing. Again, it's just like Scientology. I feel bad for the people because they're victims too. It's the Chinese government that's the problem. It's sad. It's really sad. Same thing with, North Korea. I'm like, they have the resources to feed and clothe their people. I mean, North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has a $700 million yacht. And the army, I watch documentaries all the time. The army had to go steal food from the neighborhood because they weren't getting fed in the army. In the army that you are forced to be in. It goes to this narcissism, this malignant narcissism, just like LRH, where if they would just do this much more, it wouldn't be so bad, and they could take care of their people at least to a decent, at least feed them some rice and beans. I mean, their army doesn't even get that, but they just refuse. Just refuse. I don't get it. They had to, I know years ago, I remember hearing the North Korean army, they had to lower the height standard because of malnutrition and their stunted their growth. And they couldn't get the height. I think it was reduced, I want to say like 5'2", 5'4". Let me look. And I was like, that is just awful. And in this modern age, this stuff is allowed to happen. What is the height requirement? In North Korean Army. 4'10". 4'10" and 95 pounds. Wow. Because I remember my husband, when he entered, he was underweight. He was supposed to be, he's 5'8". He was supposed to be, I think, 117 pounds, and he was like 115. So his recruiter, the day of the weigh-in, when you go to get your physical, he had him eat a bunch of bananas and drink milk. I don't know how that gave him 2 more pounds, but it did. He passed. I was just like, it's just so sad that that's still happening in the world today. It's just what people do to each other. That's why when Ukraine first hit, it really hit me hard because it was more of a Western type country like we are. Like when my husband was in Bosnia, it was long after the first big war. He was there as a peacekeeping mission, although another war broke out while he was there. And, he saw it too. You live in a neighborhood just like we all live in. If you're in a Western country, you live in a normal neighborhood where that stuff doesn't happen. But those countries have to worry about getting shot, crossfire, or getting blown up. I couldn't imagine living in my house and worrying about a mortar or a stray bullet, or soldiers coming in the door. I can't even wrap my head around that. It's just, I didn't mean to be that depressing. I was just trying to warn y'all against buying anything, any food items from China. Just don't. Just don't. So, whenever I learn something like that, I like to spread the word. Because I know not everybody has time to be watching all these documentaries and stuff. So, anytime I find something that works good, I like to tell everybody, or to be worried about anything, I like to tell everybody. So, just beware. And if you get a chance, go check that guy out. His It's China Insider, and his name, he's probably pretty easy to find, and his name is spelled like that. So he does either he goes, I've been watching all kinds of stuff. Um I even called my son tonight because one of their phones was blowing up all the time. And my son had bought a Chinese phone that was supposed to be this wonderful phone, this gaming phone. I forget the name. It was Chinese. And he didn't realize that when he got it, it was all in Chinese. He had to figure out, he had to download like a program to make it in English. So I called him immediately tonight, about a couple hours ago. I said, "What phone did you buy?" And he said it. I go, "Okay, Huawei is like the big brand there. Their phones are just catching fire. Just like their electric vehicles, just catch fire. Just for no reason." I'm just like, wow. I remember when my phone was getting hot. He said his phone gets hot. He doesn't like the phone. He said the RAM isn't what they said it was. The other stuff isn't what they said it was. He only paid, I think, 150 for it though. It wasn't like a hugely expensive phone. I had a Huawei phone years ago. It was good. It probably was years ago. It probably was. But now, yeah, now they're catching on fire. It's like it seems to really have gotten bad in the last few years because everybody's just so poor over there and they just cut corners everywhere. I mean, the fake beer with just chemicals just to make it taste right. There was this wine they sell that's supposed to be like healthy for you. It's supposed to cure stuff, and it's like $7,000. And they found out Huawei. Oh, okay, Huawei. Yeah, you're right. I remember him saying it. You're right. Huawei. He did say it. I forgot. You always got me up on the pronunciations. Because I read a lot. I don't say a lot. So sometimes I read a word a lot, but I'm not always sure how to pronounce it. I appreciate it. I do. I don't sound like such an idiot. So how are you doing, Mr. Fraud? Are you still here? I've got 4. So I've got a couple people lurking. If you want to come in and chat or you got something you want to talk about, let me know. That's the only thing I had to talk. I hadn't planned on that. I just happened to I watched them like a week or so ago. I watched several and then I just couldn't handle it. Oh good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah, doing all right. Can't complain. What's interesting going on in the world that I've missed? I think I've Yeah, it sounds like it. You'd look forward to, my trigger point injections back when the doctor I had for many years. I have kind of a newish doctor now. I literally would skip. I told him, I said, because he would say I'm sorry because I would get like 12 on each side, and he would say sorry because I go, ugh. I'm like, no, I skip here. I said it's like going to Disneyland. Don't say you're sorry because it works. Okay, that's all right. We're almost done. We're getting close. Honestly, I don't think if I was reading it on my own, I probably would have quit by now. I don't think I could. I would have fallen asleep by myself. I needed that extra knowing people are listening, and the discussion is really good too. Matter of fact, some things that everybody has said has actually changed what I probably would have thought by myself. So I think that's what's cool about it. Hey, Kathy, where you been? What you been up to? My life's pretty boring. You guys usually see me when I'm doing something exciting, which is going to Austin. I'm either here. Actually, I've been in my bedroom for a few days because it's been cold. Oh, there's Papa Smurf. Uh-oh. You two be good to each other. Be nice. Be nice. Good to see you. And I wish I could have figured out how to bring that up, but I'm going to play with that one day on a test. See, and really try to figure out. Oh, you've been sick. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you're on the mend. Wow, that sucks. Yeah, I told you, you two be nice to each other. I used to run a home daycare. I know how to deal with you guys. The Guppy song? Or do you mean that one? I think you meant Guppy. Did you mean Guppy? Just curious. I'm glad you're feeling better, Kathy. I know how that is. It really sucks. Yeah, I told everybody the other day, I said, if I'm not on, if I skip, it's health, vehicle, or weather. I haven't had too many vehicle issues, which has been good. We put 1,000 miles a week on our truck. Between Tom going an hour to work north, then I go an hour and a half south, and it's 12 years old. And I tell her every time I get in, I go, you're a good truck. I love you. We put a new transmission in you. You know, just, you're great. It is a lot. It is a lot. And the only thing we've had to really do is the transmission died. Yeah. And see, the truck was not supposed to be his work vehicle. It was supposed to be he has a Dodge Nitro. But summer before last, it was triple digits then too. And he was driving to work. He happened to have to go early. So it was in the daylight. Normally it's late at night. He had to go early. And literally all the electrics died. He pulled over and he smelled burning wires. Well, they've had our truck since October. We took the Nitro in October 1st. And they keep saying there's this part they're trying to buy they can't find. Well, my husband went online and found the part all over the place. So today he bought the part, and when it comes in, he's going to take it over there and be like, this part? Hey, Lady Smurf. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Gonna be busy. You sound like Dean with Baby the Impala. I know. I know. I have to be nice to her. When we got her, she was 6 years old when we bought her. So we bought her because we just paid her off, of course, in like June. And when we bought her at 6 years old, she had 49,000 miles and was in mint condition. It was somebody's Sunday drive. I don't know. That was not a work vehicle. And so now she's at over 250,000 miles. So we put 200,000 miles on her in 6 months or 6 years. You're showing great restraint, Scooter Mom. I appreciate it. We don't want to brawl. on the channel. Brawl. I can never say that word. Yeah, she's a good truck. The Nitro though, never buy a Dodge. Had nothing but problems with it since we bought it. He literally. So his last tour in Iraq was 2006 to 2007. And he literally got home at 4:30 that morning. I met him. It was November because there was frost on the ground. Came home. Of course, he was awake. And then when the dealer, I thought he was going to buy a Ford F-150 because that year I bought a Ford Mustang. I would have gotten the truck if I'd have known he wasn't going to buy one. We went straight to he'd been looking at this Dodge Nitro the whole year and didn't really tell me about it. We went straight to the Dodge dealer that day and bought and traded in. We had a Honda Element that I loved, but we couldn't afford that many car payments. So we traded the Honda Element in on the Dodge Nitro. Nothing but problems. Nothing. We put a whole new engine in it, actually. The month we bought this truck, we were putting a new engine in the Nitro, and everything on the engine was new. We've replaced the front rods, almost everything except the transmission. I don't want to say that too loud because I don't want that to go out. So the last two cars, we put transmission in our other two cars already. So, and the first oil change we did at the dealership, this is the thing about an army town. Everything's overpriced. We could have drove to Austin and maybe got a better deal. The first oil change, he finds out 3 weeks later, he's driving around with no filter. It fell off and no oil in the engine. So that's probably why the engine died. So just first world problems, that's why I say. But we're the kind of people that would rather put the money in to fix it. It was cheaper to put an engine in than to go buy a new car. I sang on my live twice tonight. Oh, I have to go watch that. I can't sing anymore. I sound horrible. I could probably clear a building if I tried to sing. So this truck, because we've kept it in such good shape, our Ford we had for 12 years, but we traded it in for some work on another car we had. Back then we couldn't afford. My husband was, not as high a rank in the Army, so we couldn't do all the little things that always needed to be fixed. Plus, I was always scared to death to go to a mechanic near the Army post, and I was right to think that. This guy here, and his name's Tom too, just like my husband. We trust him because we've taken vehicles in there that he could have just charged us to fix, and he said it wasn't worth it. So we go to just him. But I've been screwed, and I know other Army wives that have been screwed. And I mean, screwed because the problem is around a military town, you don't have word of mouth because somebody comes here for maybe 2-3 years and then they're gone. Although this is one of the bigger military posts in the world, actually, and in the United States, we're seeing before, say, 2005, there was nothing here. So nobody retired here. Nobody liked it. But then it started booming. And now we've got all the amenities of a city. So we see a lot more people like us who are retiring and staying here. So it's a little bit better plus we have the internet now. We didn't have the internet before. You can look at Google reviews. I literally had my neighbor who took her van in to this place to get a water pump put in. Cost her like $300. And this was a while back. This was probably 20 years ago. And a couple months later, her brother was over and looked at it. He had looked at it before. I think he's the one that told her he needed a water pump. He looked at it and he said, that is the exact same water pump you had in it before. They either rebuilt it, which we don't think, or it was probably something dumb. We had a Suburban that died, and it sat for a couple years. It was my daycare vehicle. And all we knew is it wasn't getting gas to the carburetor. We tried all this stuff. Finally, he got a buddy to help him. He dropped the gas tank. Literally, you guys, it was a 10-cent hose going to the fuel pump, had a hole in it. And I went without a vehicle for like 3 years. And I was so irritated. And I'd had people work on it. And they said, oh, it was the carburetor. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was that. So, and the only reason we put an engine in the nitro, a friend from church who was a helicopter mechanic, really good mechanic, he was home. He was doing a civilian tour in Iraq. He's a civilian. And he was home for a couple weeks on his leave. Matter of fact, it got down to the wire to where my husband had to put the front end back on by himself because he had to go back. And so he charged us like half price what a mechanic would charge, because we had to replace the heater core. You have to take the whole dash out. We got an engine off of eBay. We did all this stuff, and then it died 2 years ago. So it only ran for 4 years. But it wasn't the stuff we fixed. It was one thing that we didn't fix. So, you know how that is with cars. But that's the thing, of the difference between growing up in a town or moving to a town where your neighbors have been there forever and you have word of mouth. You're like, oh, don't go to this mechanic. This mechanic's good. We never had that. And so we felt kind of lucky that we found this mechanic, but we don't know what's going on right now, why he's saying he can't find this part for dang 6 weeks now. But my husband could find it. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Hey, No Face. I'm just complaining. As usual. This is my only time to vent. Oh my gosh. You should see me on the way home. You guys. So I left late Friday night. I literally pulled up and had to park on the street, and my husband came out and jumped in the car. And so I'm in a hurry. But I always notice this. Explain to me. And I say, people call this road rage. I won't say it's rage. It's annoyance. It's road annoyance. It's like, why? Why do we have 3 lanes of traffic, 2 trucks in the right 2 lanes, a car in the left lane, the fast passing lane, doing 70 and a 75 and no traffic in front? That's the crap I can't deal with. I just can't. So my husband will call me on Messenger while I'm driving. And I'm like, why? Why? Oh gosh, I know what you're saying, Cher, with the deer. Texas has so many deer. I've hit a deer on the road I lived on at the time. And I was in the Honda Element. If you've ever seen the Honda Elements, the front corners are plastic. Thank goodness, because I think I would have hurt the deer. Luckily, I saw it, and I slowed down to about 40, maybe 35 before I hit him. And when the cop showed up, I said, he ran off that way. I was worried about the deer. And all it did was crack that plastic piece. And what was nice is you didn't have to paint it. You just replace the plastic part. The other thing I liked about the Honda Element was the rubber floors and the waterproof seats. I don't drive, and drivers bug me when you're trying to cross the road and they are driving turtle speed. I know. I'm not a speeder. I am not a speeder. I prefer just doing the speed limit. I'm not in a hurry, but I'll be darned if we're going to do 70 and a 75 in the left lane. Yeah. What state are you in, Kathy? Yeah, they're in rutting season. My husband, his friend Buck, that he works with, he has his own property out in the middle of nowhere. And he was going to go hunting with him. And he said the deers are bad right now because what's going on is the bucks are in season and they're chasing the does across roads. And that's why you're seeing the deer in the road because they're getting chased. You've been calling orbs here? But yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here too. It's pretty rural between here and Austin. And because I'm in the middle of kind of the base. If you ever look it up, all you got to do is look up. It used to be Fort Hood when I was there. Fort Cavazos, Texas. And I live, in one of the surrounding towns. I do stay a little bit vague. We have two big lakes that were built by the Texas Army Corps of Engineers. So there's no like shortcuts north or south anywhere because of these lakes. So it's literally a freeway and that's it. So between here and Austin, it's like rural till I get to Georgetown. It goes Georgetown, Round Rock, Austin. So you hit a couple suburbs, but deer hunting season just started here in New York. Curtails my hiking. Yeah, Jessica, you gotta be careful. Yeah. My husband's never hunted. Even though our parents and families hunted, I never got taken hunting. We even had a coon dog when I was in elementary school. My stepdad. And he never got taken hunting. And he just wants to go. Oh, and wild boars are a big problem here. My husband, when you work for a security company, sometimes you get to go to different contracts. McGregor, Texas is where SpaceX is, and that's where they test the engines. And he was security there for a while, and they also have farmland. So the farmer on that property was like God. If he wanted something, you did it. And that's where Tom found out that wild boars tear up crops. They will let you come out and hunt wild boar anytime you want to get rid of them. Just replaced my driver's window and side mirror on my truck. Doe tried to come through my truck. She was probably getting chased. Yeah. Yeah, didn't you say that you took people out on hunts, Cher? I told Tom that. I thought that I remembered you saying that. He just wants to go for the experience and to know how to dress something, and he's been watching videos. So I think his friend Buck is going to take him out on his property, maybe. I don't know if they've actually planned that or not. But yeah, remember I said I come from hillbillies, but we were kind of in between because my stepdad was an independent truck driver in the 70s. I lived in the country, but I never lived on a farm. I would have loved to, and I regret every day when I bought this property in the city limits that I didn't buy something rural at the time, because now it's hugely expensive. It's okay. But I come in and out sometimes too, so it's no big deal. But he's a prepper, but we're not, like I've told you guys before, we're not big preppers. He just wants to know, like he builds weapons. I gotta watch what I say. And he's got one that's just for hunting, and he wants to go. We've never gone. He just wants to know that he can do it in case, what they say, how they call it, when the shit hits the fan, if something were to happen. Only hog hunting. No hog hunting during deer season. Can't process both at the plants per USDA. Get it? That makes complete sense. I did get a hog once. So on Fort Hood, you can get a hunting license because, they have all this property, where they sometimes train. And you go get your hunting license, and they have sections. You get your section to hunt on. And because I worked in the police station on base, we also dealt with the game wardens. Well, and one of the DA police officers that I was friends with, he said, hey, when they would get too many hogs, you could get on a list to get one. So we didn't hunt it, but we got one. And then all I had to do is pay the $50, half of the processing fee, and I got half of the hog. Never did end up eating any of it. My stand-up freezer died while all of it was in it. And all of the blood went all into my floor. We had to rip up the floor. This was a long time. It was probably good 15, 17 years ago. No hunting license for hogs or coyotes here. Hogs are really bad in Texas. Kathy. A deer went through the front windshield last year of a good friend of my daughter. It nearly unalived the whole family. Oh my gosh. The youngest child had to call 911. He told him his family was all gone. But they were okay. Oh yeah. I know. They tell you, I learned early because I grew up rural in Ohio. I was always told never swerve from a deer. But then again, when they hit, it's just as bad sometimes. But yeah, where I used to drive to and from school, I had to watch out for deer. Oh, thank gosh. Thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah. You never know. If anybody wants to come on, I'll just put it out there. Yeah. And we going to Tom's house in high school, he lived on this rural road that went like this. And I as a teenager, I drove too fast. And there were people that hit deer on that road and didn't do well. And then they're so abundant out here. If you go to anywhere, you see a group of them. I told you, I live in the town, and we had a deer in the parking lot of the library. I'm like, where did this deer come from? And like I said, the one I hit, the cop said must be okay because it was gone. And I think I had hit the brakes enough and I wasn't going fast enough. I don't think I hurt it too bad. Think because he was gonna, take care of it if it was wounded. Deer spooked from the lights, very poor eyesight with a freeze reflex. Yeah, I didn't know it was from very poor eyesight. I just thought it was just something they did. Makes sense. Learn something new every day. So I don't know if he's gonna get a chance to go hunting or not. He wants to. I remember hearing stories of my mom who was five. I'm 5'2". My mom was 5'3". Funny story. They were hunting coons and raccoons. We had a coon dog for a couple years, but because my dad was a cross country truck driver, I said that right. He was never home, so he ended up selling that dog. I love that dog. He was my best friend. Anyway, they were out hunting when they went at night, and they climbed over a fence and found out there was a bull in that area. And this bull started to charge, and my mom with her little short legs was trying to run, almost didn't make it back to the fence. It was funny trying to think of my mom trying to run. And she was chubby too. So it was a little chubby short woman trying to run to get to the fence. I would have loved to see that. Oh my goodness. But I loved when we first moved here, when we rented, we lived way out. And our back fence bordered a pasture of someone. And so they had cows and a horse and eventually a donkey that would come up to the fence, and we would give them carrots and stuff like that. The horse was pretty old. Um, But that donkey would, if I had the sliding glass doors open in the back, he would scare the bejesus out of me while I was doing dishes or cooking. He would come up and and I would freak out because I didn't expect it. But he was sweet though. The kids loved him. The kids were real young then, so they loved it. I always wanted to have property that I could have horses and goats and all that kind of stuff. But now that we can do it, our health isn't good enough. It's too much work. That's the thing. You don't realize you're old till you are. I was saying, what was it yesterday? I was saying I don't really feel old mentally. Physically, I feel pretty dang old. It's the girl child. Hold on. She knows I go live on Saturday. Let's see. She can come on here. So, the girl child, we have weird names. The girl child, she calls us the mother and father unit. Just for fun. She broke up with her boyfriend, got her own apartment, so she's been meeting people on TikTok and, FaceTiming, and she's like, oh, there she is. So, oh, we have a good story about Devin. So, she has learned, we used to have this thing where you don't know somebody for real for 6 months, but her dumb butt would get serious too quick. She knows better now. Now it needs to be a year. So she met a guy. Oh, you want to come in? Okay. She wants to talk about this. I know. It's kind of cool to hear what the young people are going through. Spicy Colombian man. That's wow, that went to hell quick. She talked to him for a few weeks. They were planning a date. He was love bombing her, and wow, that went south in like a minute. There's the girl child.
So you have the girl child for me. I call mine offspring.
Oh yeah, the offspring.
Offspring, dinner's ready.
Hold on, let me get these headphones on. Okay. Yeah. It was funny because when you came on, I started talking about Spicy Colombian man.
Dang it. I asked my 8-ball and everything. I asked, is this a good idea? And it was like, yes. No, it wasn't. It was not a good idea at all.
No, it wasn't. Oh my gosh. So I said, so you FaceTimed him a little while. He love bombed you, was buying you gifts. And then you finally went out on the actual date. And what happened?
He went psycho crazy.
Yeah. You have to ask yourself if they're cute and they have a good job, they have a nice house, and how old was he? He's in his 30s?
Same age as me, a couple years older than me.
In his 30s, why is he single? She forgot to ask that question. Because there was a reason.
I learned.
Yeah. He turned psycho on the date. So everything was going really good. And yeah, I know. We don't. Both our kids look great. We don't know where they got their genes from. We're just like, well, we make good children at least. So luckily, she takes after Tom's side of the family. My side of the family is all short and wide. Tom's side of the family is all kind of. They're Indian, so they're small boned and thin. Anyway, so they go play pool and they go out, but then he wants to take her back to his house, and she's like, she didn't want to. That's a no-no on the first date.
Yeah.
And so I told her if she needed an Uber to call me if she needed the funds for an Uber. And she did. All I got was, Mom, I need $20 for an Uber. I'm like, oh, it went to crap.
Yep.
And he just all of a sudden got home, was playing music, and then lost his shit on her because she didn't know it was his birthday.
First of all,
how long did you know him?
Like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And you're supposed to know it's his birthday.
And the thing is, I'm sure we talked about, like, we did that stupid crap. What's your favorite color? What's your birthday? Stuff like that. I'm sure he told me, but it's not on my calendar, you crazy person.
Oh. And her microwave got her daughter destroyed it with ramen and no water. And she just mentioned it, and right before the day he said, "Oh, I bought you a microwave." And what did he say when he lost his shit and you weren't having it?
He was like, I bought you, and he hadn't given it to me yet. It was still in the back of his truck. And he was like, I bought you a microwave and I did this. And I was like, return it.
Yeah.
Take it back.
She's being nice. She used stronger language, which he totally deserved. And she's like, Mom, I'm going to be single forever. This is ridiculous.
These men are out here traumatizing women.
I know, right? I couldn't believe it either because he sounded so awesome, you guys. I mean, he was nice. Now, he did supposedly live with relatives, but they weren't there for some reason. I said, Devin, you're lucky he didn't come out of the kitchen with a cleaver. I mean, totally. You're lucky you didn't end up in his freezer. I mean, it could have been that bad. Hi, Miss Sunrise. How you doing? My daughter just broke up with a guy she was seeing about 6 weeks. Oh, that happens a lot in a military town, Kathy. It does. It really does. Matter of fact, it got so bad. I had a friend who was single in my 20s. She's a little bit older than me. I told her, you need to start looking at their LES because it'll say if they have dependents or not. Because what happens is, so I had another friend who this guy, they shouldn't have done this, but he ended up kind of showing up and never leaving, kind of moved in for a couple months. She knew he was supposed to get stationed in Hawaii. Well, what had happened is a lot of times when your soldier goes overseas for a year or more, you'll go back home. Well, his wife and kids went back home. She gets a phone call from his wife because she looked at the call log. He's got a wife and kids in another state. I'm like, I was like, thank God I married my high school sweetheart and didn't have to really date. My granddaughter was born. Really? So's mine. Isn't the 12th Amelia's birthday?
November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her granddaughter was born on November 12th.
That's crazy.
Can you see the chat?
So I have to open it. I don't know if okay. I'm not doing it right, but
if you're on your phone, it might be different. I'm doing it on the computer. Hey, Becky, how are you?
Miss Sunrise Dawn, my daughter, my youngest, just celebrated her second birthday on November 12th.
My newest grandbaby that I've only seen once. Hey, Becky, I don't think you've ever been here on a Saturday night.
Hey, Mom, are those new headphones? I like those.
I bought them when I first started live streaming, but I didn't really need them, and they were cheap. They're like $20, but I like them. They're really I went for comfort. But Becky is in California, in the LA area. My daughter lives near Riverside, California, in not very far, about an hour and a half.
So just for example, so when Sam came to visit LAX, the airport, it was an hour and 20 minutes from me.
Yeah, when I came back from Burbank, it took me an hour. Going to Burbank took me 2 hours because it was 5 o'clock traffic. I know, isn't that cool? That's so neat.
5 pounds, 15 ounces, 18.5 inches long.
Oh, little.
Aww.
My son was
itty bitty baby.
Yeah.
So my daughter born on the 12th was 9 pounds. She was
Because
8
you were
pounds,
9
14
pounds.
ounces.
Hi, Dusty. Dusty's in Florida, and we've got a couple people from Canada. I have people from everywhere. Isn't that cool? So, yeah, because Devin, who is 5'1" and averages, what, 110 pounds? She was
115,
my
120.
almost 9 pound baby, 8'14".
8'14".
My son, who's almost 6 foot tall, was
Wait,
4
I
pounds,
was
14
8'14"?
ounces.
Amelia was 8'14".
Cool. That's where she got it from.
Yep.
From you.
Little
10
petite little
pounds.
bees.
Does she have her normal? No, I believe it's my first time. LA from Riverside is about an hour and a half, depending on traffic. Yeah, she's literally halfway between Int Base and Hemet and the base up in Twin Peaks? Whatever that place is that Shelly Miscavige was supposed to. Because I was going to show up there and want to go to those places, but I stayed for all of September last year, but I didn't have a car, so.
So
5 pound 2 ounce
I'm right
and 5
next
pound
to
10 ounce.
I'm right
Wow,
next
those
to
are.
March Airfield Base.
Yeah. I try to be vague about where you're at.
You're right.
Yeah. 1 ounce, 1 pound, 1 ounce bigger than Mama was at birth. Oh my goodness. But yeah. So I had the little one for he was early. And I always knew I'm like, I'm gonna pay for the next one. And I didn't do medication for either. Although with you, when it really started getting in there, I'm like, okay, I can take medication. And they're like, it's too late. I was like, okay. Oh, I think I put that up already. They were pocket babies. Oh, I know. Christopher was so tiny. His little head would fit in my palm. When I went home and he was in this, it wasn't a car seat. It was one of those things you could sit on the counter. And I sat him by the back door and I rang the doorbell and I moved. And my mom came out and she's like, there's nothing in there. Oh, awesome. 7 pounds, 4 ounce, 7 pounds, 8 ounce. Yeah, that's pretty average there. I think I was around 7 pounds, what I was told. Oh, and Devin was super long, super big. And then you're like this big now. She's like a pocket daughter. But yeah, that is good for twins.
Becky, I'm close to Riverside.
Yeah. So next time I go out to visit her. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you think that. So I'm like, just chat about weird stuff. All kinds of off the wall, whatever. So I went to a meetup with a YouTuber group. If you guys know who Lewis is on Nerd Report, he's affiliated with Popcorn Planet. So last September, a year ago, I flew out to visit Devin for 3 weeks to help her with the baby because she had training for her at-home job. And ended up, they have an affiliate from London. That was going to be there. So I only had to extend my stay for a week, and we met up in Burbank at, you might know it, Pinche, Becky. Oh, it was called Round One. It was like an arcade, bowling alley, karaoke, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I was going to say, if I come out again, I'm going to come up to LA and meet everybody. Because I rented a car that time to go to that meetup. So I rented the car and I went up there, and then I came back, and it was a whole bunch of fun. Hi, Bridge. How are you? I've noticed I get more people come towards 11 o'clock because I think everybody's kind of done streaming for the day. Michael Lionheart, I believe you're somebody I got rid of before, and you're not coming back on. And he's gone. I've never had trolls on my Saturday night before until a couple weeks ago. And yeah, if you're not in the chat, you're not coming on live. Oh, there's Devin. There she is.
Whoops.
Oh, I can eat anything. Oh, well, I am gluten-free, but I cheat because I'm not allergic to it.
Mom, that reminds me. So I quit smoking cigarettes.
Right.
I'm going on about 2 weeks now. And then I also, like, I like my Jameson. But I switched to, they're called High Noons. They're sugar-free. They're gluten-free. The only thing is, like, I like them because I don't like anything too sweet. And they're not sweet. They're not sweet. It's like, it's a seltzer, but
it's a drink?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're really good. They're really good. The only thing is they're very bubbly, so I don't know if your stomach would handle them very well.
Not too much carbonation. This is funny, Miss Sunrise. My mama mowed the freaking yard while in labor with my sister, then proceeded to give birth naturally. She had a natural birth with both of us. I told her she's more woman than I'll ever be. So
hold on, who said that? Who said that? You remember when I went into labor with Tommy? And I weed eated and I mowed the lawn.
I did the same thing when you were born. So I was living in California when she was born. She was born in Monterey. And and she was on time. But that day I got fed up because we didn't have much of a lawn as far as grass, but around the house it was super tall. I went out, I literally cleaned out 2 storage rooms that we had outside, and then I weed eated, and I thought my lower back hurt from weed eating, not realizing I was in labor till like midnight. And then she went and did the same thing.
Yep. I remember I was out in the yard for 8 hours. For 8 hours, wow. I was out in the yard. I was weed eating, and I remember seeing you in the kitchen window, and you told me you were looking out the kitchen window, and you're like, she was doing
my yard.
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah.
She had just. We won't go into that whole story about the ex.
I remember you telling me, because later that night I started feeling the pains, and I was like, oh crap. And you're like, yeah, I was looking out the window, and I looked at your dad, and I said, she's in labor. Because I was out there weed eating, mowing the lawn. I was I cleaned the ceiling of the car.
I know.
Scrubbing everything.
My car was so clean. I know somebody that cleaned her car and washed her car below freezing. I don't know how she did that. But that's good. Becky quit smoking too. I've never smoked, but I know I've had things that I've been addicted to, so I understand it's hard.
It's hard. The thing I'm struggling with now is I want to eat everything in sight.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, 42 hours. Oh, goodness. Oh, no.
Lord, you're a saint.
Funny enough, I wasn't, so both times they had to break my water. And within the time they broke my water, it was like an hour till I gave birth. So my hard labor is like an hour. I was lucky that way. But, 9 years ago. That's good. They say as soon as you quit, you start healing. My mom passed from...
Why isn't Scooter Mom on?
What do you mean? She's right there. You can't see her?
I know, but usually she's in the chat. Or like
she's got to leave early. She's got an appointment tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Because when she comes on, we're on here for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So she told me before we came on, she was in the chat. She says, I'm not coming on. I have to get off and be at my appointment. Yeah, 42 hours is a lot. I don't think I could have made 42 hours.
So I've only been smoke-free for 2 weeks, but I'm doing good. I just want to eat everything.
You know what? Entertain them. I have to go tinkle.
I couldn't figure out why I was wanting to eat everything, and like it dawned on me because Like, and it wasn't just like snacks. I made like 3 meals for myself in one night, and I figured out it was because I quit smoking. Because when you smoke, it makes you lose appetite.
Alright.
Yeah, babe.
I know it's probably none of my business, but I heard that nicotine patches are good too.
Lord, son, I don't need no Nick. You're right. It's none of your business. I was turned away from St. John's. Their NICU collapsed during the earthquake. Oh my goodness. Scooter mom. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been doing vaping. And what's funny is I hardly ever use it. Honestly, for some reason, I always like want to use it more at night. During the day, I don't touch the vape at all. I didn't even know where it was all day long. Becky, earthquakes, that's new to me. I've only dealt with one since I've been here. And I haven't been here for very long. But that was scary.
Yo, am I flying? Whoa!
Okay. Did you entertain them?
Yeah. Scooter mom, I got this just a little tiny thing. And I only use it like I hardly ever I didn't even know where it was all day long. I found it. It's not until towards the end of the day where I feel like especially when I clock out of my shifts, that's when I want to smoke, and that's when I grab it.
Are you talking about the LA earthquake? I was there for the 89 quake up north. And Devin had to be flown from Monterey to San Francisco the next day after we were sent home. That's a long story. My husband did the vaping thing for a while, but he was just getting crappy, like what he was using. And the doctor said, you got to be careful. I'm not telling her not to because it's a good transition out. But I wouldn't do the vaping thing for a long time because they're saying
No, and honestly, I won't need it for very long because I hardly touch it now.
Oh, thank goodness. You had a better one later. Yeah. Well, she's you already talked about it. She's vaping, but still wanting. Oh. That might be an interesting thing to read. And what trips me out is both my kids smoke. And they both watched their grandmother, my mom, pass from lung cancer. And, I kept thinking, I'm a healthy person. I've never smoked. And then I realized I was born in 1969. So I went through the 1970s and 1980s in a house with 2 people that smoked 2 packs a day and in a car in the winter. And I realized I can probably still get lung cancer even though I've never smoked. Because, they didn't know about secondhand smoke back then. So, that's just the way it is. Sideways! Oh my goodness. Oh, really? Really? I did not know that.
Did you know that spicy things help with chronic pain?
So Devin didn't know this about the endorphins you get from spicy food, and she always ate spicy.
So when I was bartending, so I worked at a liquor store in the morning and I bartended at night. I had a jar of not pepperoni peppers, not the mild. I had hot chili peppers. I had a jar that I kept at the liquor store.
This was after she got fibro.
I had a jar that I kept at the bar that I worked at by the register.
Oh, it's true.
And I had a jar that I kept on my nightstand. Everywhere I went, I had a jar of these hot chili peppers, and I would just eat that, like crunch, just eat them. And people looked at me like I was insane. But spicy food helps with chronic pain.
She used to eat an onion like an apple. I can't do it. So I just recently I said, that's because of the endorphins. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it releases a chemical in your body. That's why people can be addicted to spicy food. And she's like, oh, it makes sense now. Isn't it weird? Yeah, I couldn't do that either. But yeah, Scooter Mom's right. Or he's the one that said that. Yeah. Nicotine isn't the problem. It's all the crap they put in cigarettes. Because we know grandfathers that have smoked their whole lives never had a problem. If they would just be more natural with it, it wouldn't be that bad. And they're saying now vaping can be just as bad because you don't know what chemicals they're putting in it. Especially, you didn't see the first part of my live. I was talking about China and the crap they do to each other in China, the poisons and fake food they serve. You can't trust anything. No food, no dishes. Matter of fact, I just realized I have a lot of Pioneer Woman stuff, like measuring cups and stuff. They're made in China. I can't even trust those because they cut corners everywhere. I can't trust that there's a glaze on it that's healthy. The combustion from smoking anything can damage too. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh my goodness, girl. Becky. Ah! Oh my goodness. Now, I was with my first, because it was my first, I had back labor for a couple days. I was in tears. And the problem was I had just moved to Georgia in December. And I hadn't gotten a new doctor yet. The 1st of February, I was working on it. Well, he was 5 weeks early, in January. So I didn't even realize I'd never heard of back labor. This was in 1988. So I didn't know anything. And so I didn't know what black labor was. Finally, the third night, I called an emergency room, a hospital I'd heard on the radio. And I said, this is what I'm going through. And she said, you're in labor. And it just so happened. So I went to this hospital. They had so many people in labor that night. They literally had people on gurneys in the hallway to giving birth. It was like the worst night ever to go to the hospital. Yeah. So both of them were born around 6. One was at 6:04 and one was at 7:01. And it was literally, and so I kind of started, I went to the hospital both times around midnight. They broke my water, and within an hour, I had them. So luckily, that wasn't too bad. 5 hours. Yeah. I think it's a good transition. I think my husband vaped for a couple years and now he's done completely. He said he just got mad one day because he was getting these cartridges and they weren't, it was hit or miss. He would actually stop at the convenience store and like take it out of the package in front of the guy and put it in. Because if you got out of the store with it and there was a problem, you were done. But he had 3 cartridges and like 2 out of 3 of they all sucked. Something was wrong with them. He's like, he threw them away and he quit. It was it was only a few months ago. What was weird about Tom is he would smoke like 3 cigarettes a day for a lot of it. Now, if he was in the field or overseas, but when he was around me, it was like 3 a day. So he was a fairly light smoker. Really? You know what? I'm going to go back and find out if they were born, because I know you can find out. Really? That's when Tom first started vaping the first time, he did that. He bought the stuff and he had the really nice thing and it was expensive. But then like the second time he vaped, he was just buying the cheap thing with the cartridges. So, but he said the problem is they can't be regulated as well as they should. But let me make sure I haven't missed anybody's comments. Sorry, guys, we've been talking about female stuff tonight. We should talk about some dude stuff. I can talk dude. I was in the Army. If necessary. You know what? I'll do it right now. I think that would be interesting to find out. So, let's see. Was there a full moon? It says that day was a new moon phase. During this phase, the moon is too close to the sun in the sky to be visible. It was something. Let me check Devin. So, because he was early, they're 5 years and 8 days apart. So, when they were younger, we would do their party together. No, not, no, no full moons, which is weird, because you would think. Ugh. Becky, you're new. So, the screen of the computer is at a certain place that my regular glasses don't quite work. So, I have like computer glasses and reading glasses. The legal ones are regulated here, but there's always a black market. Yeah, I don't know if they're that regulated in the States. So, but like I said, I think it's a good transition, but I wouldn't recommend, vaping. Because you remember when it was really new, I knew people that would vape for like a pastime almost. They would make all this smoke and do all this stuff. And it was kind of like that. But Tom tried to get me to smoke in high school one time, and we were at the park with some friends, and I was sitting on the back seat with the door open, and I tried, and I coughed so hard I fell out of the car onto the ground. I said, it's like inhaling a brick. I don't know how y'all do it, to be honest. I really don't. I couldn't do it. What's funny is I actually have like the opposite of an addictive personality. I'll get into something for a period of time, but it usually doesn't last a good long time. So it changes, which is weird because my mom and dad were both, my dad was an alcoholic, and that man smoked so much. When he passed and I got his things, everything was covered in brown. Just brown. It was a lot. I think when he stayed with me for a few weeks, I have a brown spot above the kitchen table by the slime because that's where he sat. I never let anybody smoke in the house. You can't tell your dad. I just said, okay, sit over there. And there's a brown spot on the ceiling that I kind of left alone because it was his, kind of, because he passed a few weeks after that. And but yeah, he had like this bookmark that was white. In the book it was white, and the part sticking out was brown. It was he smoked one he lit one after another. It was a lot. But they grew up in the 60s. They didn't know this stuff was bad, you know. I just, I can understand people of a certain age not knowing. So, but right now I'm addicted to cold brew coffee. I've been doing that, I think, about a year now. Not quite a year. I got to figure out how to make it myself because I buy this stock brand STOK. It's really good. But it can be quite kind of a pricey when you drink about one every day or two. So I might try to make my own. I need the caffeine. If any of you know, with fibromyalgia, you also get chronic fatigue syndrome. And so I've got to have something to help me with energy. Caffeine seems to work pretty good at this point. But yeah. I have, so my son was born in Atlanta, Miss Sunrise. If you're still there, you probably know the hospital he was born in if you know Atlanta at all. And then Devin was born near Carmel, California, in the hospital where like Doris Day would go and Clint Eastwood, because every room was private. And the only reason I got to go there is our base was closing down. And so they what's the word? They referred me out. And I got to go to the Ritzy Hospital and have the Ritzy Monterey doctor, which was cool. Really cool. That's how it was at my maternal grandfather's house. At one point, he was up 4 packs a day. I think that's what my dad was smoking when he passed. My mom understood to clean his house. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, in the 70s, my friend's dad smoked those. Oh, it worked? The hypnotism worked? I've heard, both sides of that. That's awesome. I'm glad it worked for you. Did I put that up? So yeah, we came down to LA once in 91. And that was enough. We spent 3 hours on the outer belt because Highway 5 south to Disneyland was closed. And back then we only had a paper atlas. And we didn't have one. I looked at it before I left. And we spent 3 hours circling and trying to find a convenience store that had a map. Nobody did. And finally we find one so we can, but by then it's 7:30 in the morning and I think we were on the 101 or the outer belt. I don't know. We were in like literally a parking lot. And we were in a 65 Mustang driving down there. It was to Disneyland. It was kind of our honeymoon because we didn't have one. And I remember, because the smog was really bad then, when I walked out, I remember being outside of the hotel and my skin burned. I know they've kind of fixed that since then a bit. My maternal grandfather. Okay. Hypnotism didn't work for me. The patches. Oh my goodness. You just had it rough. Yeah. Like I said, if they didn't add all that crap to it, it wouldn't be that bad. I was given a private UCLA because of my... Oh. That's rough. Luckily, when Devin gave birth on Fort Hood, they had revamped and made this women's center. Because, I mean, when I gave birth, you were in like an operating room in this little tiny room. She had this suite. It was nice. And it's huge room. It was so different. The one I gave birth to in Atlanta, that was a really crappy hospital. There was homeless people in the lobby. They had like this, like they had glassed in the outside. So you went in, you were in this glassed area, these cement stairs, and then you went in. And I was like, I went to the only hospital I'd heard about. It wasn't the best. And then I went from that to the Ritzy Hotel in Monterey, which was nice. Kind of deserved it because of the first one. Because what happened with the first one, because so many people gave birth, I sat in a chair. So I probably came out from recovery around 9 a.m., 9 a.m. I sat in a chair till 8 p.m. till they could get me a room. And y'all, if you're women, that's not a good thing. I mean, you can smell that stuff. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It was pretty bad. Because I hadn't gotten a doctor yet. I hadn't picked a hospital. I didn't know the area. I actually lived in Austell, which is like a suburb of Atlanta, but I'd only been there maybe a little, like 5 or 6 weeks. So I didn't know anything when I got there. I love Georgia, by the way. If we were to pick a state to go to, that's on my list. So where did my daughter go? She's been FaceTiming people. It's either that or the offspring are giving her issues. Find out what the heck. I thought she was coming back. What are you doing? What are you doing? Good for you. Good for you, Becky. I've seen you enough. You don't seem to take no shit. Yeah, I'm glad you got away too. Like I said, my story's pretty generic, but I also think it's pretty lucky. Because people think when you marry your high school sweetheart, that's the only person you know. But I had boyfriends before him, so did he. We dated my junior and senior year, and then we broke up and were off and on for 2 years. So what it was is we went our separate ways for a little while, but I definitely realized that's the person I wanted to be with. I was like, because I was in it another state at the time. I was shopping and I was looking at a shirt and I was thinking Tom would really like this color. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got it. I'm like, yeah. So I didn't have to go through the really, really crappy dating that people have to these days. That's your bunkie. My cousin. Oh, that's funny. He couldn't get him in trouble. That is funny. That is funny. But no, my husband tried to hide too. So I didn't know he smoked in high school. He only smoked a little bit. And then he'd been active duty Army. By the time we got government housing, it had been a year. And that's when he really started smoking. So when we got married, I didn't know he knew I wouldn't be with a smoker. We think I'm allergic to it because it really causes a reaction with me. So then he was trying to hide it. And I at least said, don't smoke in the car. And I would find ashes on the outside of the door. I'm like, you're smoking in the car. We almost got divorced over that. Okay. Alrighty. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Devin's finding that out. Did I miss something? Let me know if I've missed any comments. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Are you okay, Scooter Mom? Because you have that appointment tomorrow. I want to make sure you feel okay with it. But yeah, so I was like, I used to joke. I was like, I'm like, oh, I just stay with him because I don't want to have to train a new one. I've spent, since we started dating, 38 years. I'm like, I spent 38 years on this guy. I'm not doing this again. Oh, okay, good. So, you guys know I don't know when I said it. So I went off one of my meds because there's too many side effects with gabapentin. The first week was rough. And I thought it was going to take a good 2 weeks. Nope. I even tried to take, so I had amitriptyline to kind of help. But I've taken the amitriptyline since then, and it feels weird. I don't even like it. So I'm off the gabapentin. I was hoping it would help my memory. Fibro fog is so hard. So hard. And it hasn't. It's the fibro. Yeah. My daughter, the first two kids, her and she calls him the sperm donor because he's not around. And they did live. The reason they were living with us when the second child was born is he got kicked out of the army. You know how much of a piece of crap you have to be to get kicked out of the army? Was that during the war? Can't remember. Just in time to have the baby, so it wasn't covered by the army pay or army insurance. And then that blankety blank sat here in this room playing video games. My daughter, she's done this more than once, had 2 jobs by the time her baby was 6 weeks old. And he's sitting here, and I was sick by then. And I came out, I had to pull myself out of my bed to sit out here to and you all know I'm not a confrontational person, even with something like that. So my first grandchild was about 10 or 11 months old. And she had come over to get his attention. And he was ignoring her. And I was like, my thoughts after all this was, if he's going to do this in front of us, what the hell is he doing when we're not there? Anyway, I said, Dad, she just wants to spend time with you. He grabbed her, plopped her on his lap really hard, and continued to play video games. And the day he said to Devin, well, I think I'll get a job at GameStop so I can get discounts on my games. We started to lose our shit. She goes, Mom, I got this. Okay. Next day, she kicked his ass out. Ass out. And he never really wanted anything to do with kids. And then my last grandchild, she moved to California with this guy because he's from there. And as soon as they got there, he switched it all up. And again, she ended up working 2 jobs after the baby was born, and he wasn't. Just saying. So my daughter's a hard working single mom. She's worked 2 jobs on more than one occasion. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm sure she feels the same, Becky. I know you feel the same. That happens way, way, way more than you would think. You know? But gotta do what you gotta do. So I wanted my husband out of the army at 10 years. I hated it. I hated that the kids weren't around family. Because, I grew up in the same area for a long time. But he said, no, it's the retirement and everything's going to matter. And every time I have to go to a specialist and all I have is a $30 copay, he's like, this is why I stayed in. The problem is that when you spend 20 years in the army, this doctor told my husband this. He said, your body is 20 years older than somebody else your same age. So when he retired at 41, because we enlisted early. I enlisted on my 17th birthday, and he enlisted a year later. So he comes out with a body of a 61-year-old. It's the truth. And sometimes I'm like, was it really worth it when you got all this issues? Oh, I understand. Even though my husband was in the Army early on, he was a private. We were poor. Both of us worked second jobs. The first couple years we were married, at least one of us was working a second job after either a full-time job or in the Army. So yeah, I get that too. Yeah, that's rough. There was one job I tried in California I couldn't do. So I worked full-time all day in shipping and receiving at a big hardware store. And then I would go into Carmel and be a bagger for groceries. I made it a week, and I was like, it was too physically demanding. Most of my second jobs have been delivering pizzas. It's a little bit less physically demanding. So yeah, I get it, Bridge. I get it. We've been there. I'm glad you can feel that now. I was in Oh. Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, I'm so glad, Becky. So glad. I had a friend who, while I was married, she was a few years older than me. She never let anybody come to her house or know where she lived for a long time. Wow. Wow. Technically, I was a single mom too. I don't mention it that often, but those 2 years we were off and on, I had Christopher. So I got pregnant 7 days after graduation. And then I went into my AIT Army training. Didn't know I was pregnant. Now, you may not understand why I didn't know. They tell you when you go into basic training or whatever that the change in your physical exertion and training can mess up your menstrual cycle. So I was like 2.5 months pregnant before I knew I was. I was like, why can't I run? I just passed the PT test 2 months ago. By the time I found out I was pregnant, we were broke up. And I didn't want to get back together just because we had a baby. I was like, that's not good for anybody. So I kept my distance for a while. And then we did decide to get married. I said I didn't want to get married just because. And then by the time we got government housing and I got to California, Christopher was 2 years old. So I was a single mom for 2 years. So I get that. That's how I have to look at my son's age and reduce a year. That's how I know how many years we've been married, because he's 36 and we've been married 35 years. Because he was in the audience going, "Hey, Mom." So, but I didn't want to do that. So I do get, being a single mom. That's why we helped Devin so much. I was always her babysitter for many of those years so that she could work the job she needed to work and not worry. I know. It's rough. And see, I've seen Devin go into relationships she shouldn't have, thinking it would be easier. But I'm like, okay, it might be easier financially, but it was never easier mentally. Like right now, she's paying $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment because she's in California. Oh, my goodness. I'm not laughing at you. It's just, wow. That absurd. That's true too. That's true too. Yep. That's exactly what Devin calls their dad. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like I said, I got super, super lucky. Because even the people I dated, so we were in a very small, tight knit group of ROTC cadets. Um, and everybody I dated in high school, I knew for a long time. And they were all, I never had a horrible breakup. I never had a horrible relationship. I never had to go through any of that. And it really hurts me that my son and my daughter have to go through that. My son's never been married, thank God, because he's been in a relationship with some real psychos. Real psychos. So yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So it can be rough. Really can. Devin said she just signed the lease recently. She's going to try to make it work for that year and see how it goes. But for what she's paying for an apartment in California, she could literally buy a house in our area for her. But the problem is she knows there's going to be a custody issue. So she's trying to curb that, but I just want her to come home. We can help her when she's home. I mean, my other two grandkids I practically raised. I had them all the time. And this one I've seen once in 2 years. It's hard. I don't blame them at all. It is. What watching my kids go through it. Well, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. um that's good. Yeah, they are. They seem pretty smart. Because I get on my daughter all the time. I'm like, you go into these relationships too fast, too fast. You have to give it more time. She's realized it, I think. But they never tell you how bad a relationship is until it's over. And now she's telling me about all this crap this guy pulled and all the emotional control and damage he was doing. And she's a strong girl, but he got her alone in California around his family and then just started in. It took her 2 years, not quite 2 years, to finally break up because she was scared, and I get that. She married the first sperm donor without talking to us first, because I would have told. She did the opposite of what I did, and I was with a better guy. I did not want to get married because of a child. It's not good for the child. That's exactly what she did. They got married too fast, and he was a psycho. She tried to make it work for 2 years, and we actually had her away from him at one point. She had left, and we brought her, and 2 days later she went back. And I'm like, you can. Sometimes you have to watch your kids just, because I've never been one to tell my kids what to do. I really have. I let them deal with it, even though I can see that's probably going to be a disaster. I know they're not going to listen to me. They've got to experience it. Oh, and see, that was funny because that's the way I was. I was really fine with being, that's how I was able to be an army wife. Oh my, really? Yeah, I know. I know. Like what Devin just went through. This guy sounded amazing. Amazing. And then just flipped on her in the middle of a date. The first couple hours was fine. He took her back to the house, which she didn't want to go. And he started playing music and everything seemed okay. And then he lost his shit. I'm like, girl, you're lucky he didn't come out of the kitchen with a butcher knife. She ended up having to go out and order an Uber and leave. I was like, and now she's like, and she said, I'll never get married again because it takes 5 minutes to get married and freaking a year to get divorced. I know. That's why I'm like, Tom's never been perfect by any means, but I can handle his issues. It's caused me a bit of stress because I had to, for 21 years in the Army, I had to do everything. I had everything. Because in 21 years, he was gone like 10 and a half. And that's only overseas and out of state, not the 2 or 3 weeks when they go out on the base and do field problems. I mean, I never knew when he was going to be home. So I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't afford daycare in the evening because I never knew when he would be home. Because the Army pays you for 24 hours. You are theirs every minute of the day. Oh, blood infections are horrible, Kathy. Oh my. Go rest. Go. Glad you stopped by. I hope you do. Do hope you feel better. Blood infections aren't good at all. Take care of yourself. I've never had anything like that. I hear it's not that. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I think we scared the men off. You notice that? We scared the men off. That happens even when Dusty was doing live streams. It always devolved into women's stuff. So some of you just got here later. I started my stream about been watching these things about China. God, don't buy food from China. Oh my God, just don't. Go back and watch the beginning. There's this channel I've been watching. He's Chinese, but he's here in America. And the crap that they're feeding each other, not what they're exporting, which is bad, but they're poisoning their own people with this fake food and poisonous stuff. Oh my gosh, it turns my stomach. It really does. So, like I was telling, Scooter Mom was on earlier when I was talking about it, and I said I went in my pantry because I go to this Asian store, and I got these dried mushrooms, y'all, and it had a warning on the back that can cause cancer and harm to birth. I was like, on dried mushrooms? I know, I've heard that. Thank God she got out of that. But I've seen that from some celebrities that have had to pay child support, which is ridiculous. It's calling me. Oh, Devin. Why is she calling me? She knows I'm on. I know. Honestly, nothing. in reality, nothing surprises me anymore. I just don't understand people. Yeah. I don't buy food from China, and I don't buy anything food related or like skincare, anything. I bought stuff off Temu, like I bought some fans, work good. Some things that can't do me harm. But man, this guy, um, they make fake beer out of chemicals and sell it to their own people as beer. It's not even beer. It just tastes like beer. Fake meat. I don't even want to go into the gutter oil. That turned my stomach. They literally go into trash cans in the gutter and get cooking oil out and use it in restaurants. That was the worst. Korea is different. Korea and Japan, very different. China, they're so poor and so downtrodden, the government won't help them. Their buildings are falling down because they've used subpar construction. These people have put their whole life savings into these homes, and they've literally found styrofoam in the walls or rebar that was pulled so thin it did nothing. And there's no recourse because the government got their share of the money and they're not going to help them. So, yeah, Koreans are very into the facial care. I got into K-pop recently, like this last year, and yeah. So, and I watch Korean dramas sometimes if it's dubbed. I can't do subtitles. So I've learned a bit about the culture there. They like to drink a lot. If I had unlimited funds, I would go live in Japan. I watch this guy that does these walks in Japan, Tokyo Explorer, I think his name. And it's so clean. It's so clean. So clean. I'm a germaphobe. I was a germaphobe before COVID. I'm a germaphobe. So that's why. I don't blame them. It probably would have been toxic. I can't believe they went to China and it was okay. The last few years, a lot of these videos are from recent. Their electric vehicles are catching on fire. Their phones are catching on fire. The poison is they put in food. Their economy. My husband, being military, was always worried about China attacking us or whatever. I go, number one, their tanks will probably fall apart. Number two, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to use their money, and they have investing in stuff. But I found out their economy is collapsing because of all this stuff. So I'm like, I don't think we have anything to worry about. Because the thing is, these aren't even things they're exporting. This is stuff they're just doing to each other. Oh, I have my cooler down here, so I don't have to get up. But the ice has solidified. Come on. Ugh. Where are you? Oh. Ooh, that was cold. Stuck my hand in the ice. Ooh, goodness. Oh, I know. That's surprising. for China. You know, they're a nanny state for sure. Matter of fact, I just watched a video tonight where Halloween this year, 2024, they cracked down on costumes that they felt could be political, like Batman. Anyway, they watch people so much that the local, I don't know if it's the police, called this man and said, "We just saw you ordered such and such a costume online. You can't wear that out. You will be arrested." How the heck did they know that? That's how much they watch them. It's horrible. Makes me appreciate being American, even with the issues we have. Because dang. Yeah. My husband's in just regular security now. And some of Becky, you're new. So I really can't work a full-time job with my health issues. But sometime around a year ago, I said I saw when so my husband works for a security company, and then they have contracts that you go to. Well, he liked this contract so much that it changed companies twice and he stayed. He likes it that much. And I notice when somebody gets fired or somebody quits, everybody's doing overtime for days until they can hire somebody new. And I said, I could be an emergency call-in. How many times can you find an emergency call-in that doesn't want a minimum number of hours? Because I don't need it. So I brought that up a couple of months ago, and I've done the training, got my did I get my license? Anyway, I'm waiting to go in to do training to where my husband works. And see, my husband and I will never work together because he works at night completely alone. So I guess they thought that was okay. Thank you. And I think they liked that I worked at the police station. I had a security clearance. I had a security clearance in the Army. Army Reserves. Wasn't full. Tom went active duty, but I didn't. But yeah, I am really surprised because they are so worried about spies over there. I cannot believe he got a visa. Maybe they wanted to watch him, see what he was doing. I don't know. China's weird. China and North Korea. Becky, were you here when I was looking at North Korea? I went in from China. I was talking about North Korea, and I said they're so malnourished in their army. They literally, the army, North Korean army personnel have to go steal food from people. And they had to reduce the height limit for the army. I thought it was 5'2" when I looked it up online or while I was on here. 4'10". 4'10" and 95 pounds. Okay. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. And I was like, that's bad. And I'm like, this a-hole, Kim Jong-un, has a $700 million yacht. And he can't give his troops some rice and a vegetable? Come on. And I related that to L. Ron Hubbard, this malignant narcissism. I'm like, you could give this little bit to your people and better their lives, but nah. Same thing with LRH, same thing. If he could have just held back a little bit, because we're reading, Becky, you may not know this, but we're reading Dianetics on Sundays. We're almost all the way through. And what we're learning is it could have been a good thing. It could have been, but he chose to take it to the 19th level, and It wasn't good. I know. 4'10". I'm 5'1". I know. My husband was 115 pounds when he went in the Army. He's a small guy. I couldn't imagine 95 pounds. And 4'10", because they're stunted because of the nourishment. They have no nourishment. They're so poor over there. It's horrible. My husband was stationed in South Korea for a year. And it's just it. And I was saying earlier, I was like, it's sad that this stuff happens in this day and age. It really is. In this modern age, that they can't give basic sustenance to their people. Even the Chinese, the North Koreans. It hurts my heart. It really does. I wish we could fix it all. Just can't. So I do a little bit, like you, Becky, you do too. We try to do what we can. Maybe if we can only help a couple people, at least it's something. Who told you? I forgot. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I have fibro brain. I'm really bad at names and dates and numbers. I can remember somebody's whole life story and repeat it when I'm out protesting, but sometimes I couldn't tell you who said it. So just fair warning, that happens to me quite a bit. I literally have to write stuff down. But you said somebody sent you over here. I don't remember who you said it was. But I think, cool. It's good to have you. I've seen you. We've been in the same chats a lot. I'll be honest. I don't watch a lot of the stuff from LA just because when I go on a live stream or I look for a live stream to watch, if somebody's got, 100. Oh, fraud. Oh, yeah. Awesome of him. Thank you. If somebody's got 100 or more people in their chat and somebody over here has 20 or 30 or 8 like me, I go there. So I don't keep on. Oh, you're still here. Good. Awesome. Thank you. So I don't get to keep up with everything that's going on all the time. That's why I like the update Natalie and Scooter Mom show. Kind of keeps us up to date with stuff. I know you do. Yeah, I know you do. And I helped a homeless man. Matter of fact, it was funny because tonight I was at the convenience store. So 2019, and we live in kind of a small area in the middle of Texas. So we're not near a major city. So we don't have a lot of homeless. And yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, it totally is. There's so many channels. Yeah, exactly. I know. So my daughter lived half a mile from me, and there was this convenience store in between. And there was a homeless man that would sit on the curb with his 2 dogs. And he never asked for anything, but they would help him out. Well, my daughter lived across the street, or not lived, worked across the street from that convenience store and found out he had cancer and he needed help with his dogs because he was a veteran. But the VA, the Veterans Administration, is another town, and you have to take this bus. It would take him all day to go to an appointment. He needed help with his dogs. They were not housebroken because they were homeless dogs, but I said, okay, I'll do it, even though my health wasn't that good then. And so he would bring me the dogs and then go get on the bus. And then when he had to have cancer surgery that summer, I had the dogs that whole 3 weeks. And I had to put diapers on them. They were not housebroken. But he would let his female get pregnant because they would make pretty puppies. And so Petunia, who's laying over here, was born in my house from those 2 dogs. And I forget what I was getting at. I don't even remember. And so anytime he had an appointment, when he stayed here because he had to be, excuse me, he had to be at the hospital at like 5 a.m. He stayed here the night before. Some other times I let him stay. I don't know what my point was. Maybe helping the homeless, yeah. And then like a year after his surgery, I had helped him a couple times. Somebody had given him a place to stay, and he called me, and it was 2020, June 12th. I'll remember the date, 2020. So we were under lockdown, and he calls me and says, "Please come get my dogs. I'm leaving in an ambulance. They might take them to the pound." He loved those dogs. They were small dogs, and so I said, "Okay." So I went and got them. And 3 weeks went by and I didn't hear anything. I knew because of lockdown I couldn't visit or anything. Because when he was in the hospital before, I put him in diapers. I took him into the hospital so he could see him. And 3 weeks went by. I heard nothing. And I went on his Facebook and all I saw was RIP. I was like, he had died that night. The day I went and got the dogs and he went in the ambulance, he passed away that night because the cancer treatment didn't work. I was like, oh my goodness. So, and what was funny is tonight I went to the convenience store too, the same one. And the guy working there had walked outside for a smoke. He said, "Oh, who's that in your truck?" And I said, "Oh, that's Petunia." I go, "Do you remember so-and-so that used to sit here with his dogs?" "Yeah." I'm like, "That's their daughter." That's kind of why it was on my mind. I was like, so she had 4 puppies. She was small. They were both small. She was super small. One didn't. We tried to nurse one. He didn't make it. And so I kept this one, and she's she's a cutie pie, but she will attack my pit bull, and she's 14 pounds, and she will bully her. So, what are we doing here? Yeah. 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 I knew that about you a long time ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about that. Oh, you think so? Uh-oh. Oh, we talked about that. That was a big problem for this gentleman is even after he got done with his surgery and stuff, he had to have somewhere to the VA would send meds in the mail, so he used my address. Because you got to have an address. And it was hard. And him being a vet and all. But yeah. But I made at the time that when he passed, I just couldn't having the dogs inside. I had to put diapers on them, and my health wasn't that good then. So after I knew he was gone, I called a rescue, and I got a rescue to take the mom and dad. I wanted to make sure they got taken somewhere good, and he wanted to make money on the puppies because they were beautiful. They were brindle. They were Pomeranian and Boston Terrier mix. And so he would get $100 a piece for them. But he was in the hospital when she had her puppies. And I'm like, look, I'm having a hard time rehoming him. I didn't get any money for him. I kept one and I rehomed two. And I just wanted him to go to a good home. And if anybody spent a little bit of time with his dogs, they could be housebroken easy. Their names were Tonto and Pocahontas, which was totally cute. but yeah, that tends to happen sometimes. This man had a problem with the alcohol, and I saw it. They did after the cancer surgery. They sent him to rehab. It didn't work. But yeah, you do what you can. But oh, good night, Scooter Mom. Glad you could stop by. AA said she was sending me Reiki energy last night, and I fell asleep with my glasses on, watching something that never happens. I have to turn like special music on and work at going to sleep. And I was like, maybe that worked. I'll take it. Yeah, I actually in Austin, I tend to call him transient. Instead of either one of those. Um Oh, did he? Oh. Man. Yeah. But you can only do what you can do. And it was hard because my husband wasn't as into helping him as I was. So there was a little bit of tension there. But I'm like, look, you know, I got to do what I got to do. Oh, no. He supported me anyway. He usually does. Have a good night's rest. So about veterans, homeless veterans. So I was watching Tunnels to Towers recently. It's something in New York, and they built a veterans village. It's like an apartment building, and not only are they giving them a place to stay, they're trying to give them the tools like mental health and other things to help keep them from going back to the street. Yeah. Yeah. The guy, Becky, you may not know this because I don't see you that often. So a few months ago, I protested in Austin, and I was what I think is a transient. I don't know if he's homeless or not. I've never seen him before. I've never seen him since. He came at me aggressively, and there's a bench and a tree. I have a wagon with all my stuff and my tripod. So I kind of make a barrier. But he grabbed my sign and threw it on the ground so that I came out. I didn't think. And he got I think he would have got physical, but there was a neighborhood homeless guy who would come by periodically. He was very supportive of us, didn't like Scientology. He showed up out of the blue and got between me and him. And I was like, well, I was thinking about calling 911, but he goes, call them now. And I did. So I had to go off my live stream to do that. And he stayed he stayed between me and that guy for a while. The guy ended up going down the street, circling around me, going in and out of business. Ended up in the street blocking traffic and got arrested because I was on 911 telling them blow by blow what was going on. Took 3 officers to handcuff him. And had not Colin not been there, I think things would have got worse. So he's like my knight in shining armor when he comes by periodically and says hi. That was really awesome of him. Oh my gosh, you're still driving? Oh my god. Oh, don't text. I cannot do anything when I'm driving because I don't know if it's my car or me. I can't even answer my phone. I'm like all over the place. My family knows that I can't even answer the phone. Although if I'm at a stoplight, I'm like, I'll text or something. But well, we've been here 2.5 hours. I'll give it a few more minutes. This is so much fun for me. I've told you guys before, oh, I've got to learn. I cannot figure out how to voice text. Oh, awesome. Okay, I'll stay on. Let me know when you're home. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I listen to like Natalie's show on my way to Austin or some other stuff, and that helps me too. So I'll stay on then for a little while. But yeah, my husband taught me a lot about the unhoused because he worked for the first 8 or so years he did security. He worked North Austin at like the worst motel. It was Motel 6. It was like the worst hotel in North Austin in the worst neighborhood. And he had to wear a bulletproof vest and carry a weapon to be security there. So he kind of taught me how to deal with it as much because he tried to work with people until they didn't want to anymore. I mean, I remember down here in Texas, we get this great blue northern that blows in that you don't expect, and the temperature can drop 30 to 40 degrees. And there was a homeless woman that had a tank top and capris and sandals on, and it was below freezing. So him, a police officer, and the desk guy pulled their money and got her a room. He called me. My daughter and I got clothes together because they have no idea that's coming. So I used to make up those, we call them blessing bags with socks and toiletries and things like that. That's the best we can do. As far as what's going on there. Yeah. But yeah, Becky, I've seen that, Oh, I'll tell you a story here quick. Disney Springs. Oh, happy birthday. So I've been getting into K-pop this last year because it reminds me of 80s music, and BTS is a group. And they went to LA early in their career to learn about hip hop. And they had Coolio showed up. Warren G? Is that right? I'm not sure that we're helping them. Well, they took them to Skid Row to give out some food to learn about the neighborhood. And literally these guys, these homeless guys, were giving them life advice that made sense. They were telling them to never give up, pursue your passions. It was amazing. It was amazing that these guys could give them that life information. And, you got to, and I do understand, and my husband understands that, you never know what somebody's circumstances brought them to that place. It could be something as simple as losing a job or your apartment burning down. You never know. Oh, my cane got stolen. That's funny, Becky. My cane got stolen. So I use a cane. I used to use a walker, and I had this really nice foldable pink cane. And there's these benches out front of the org. And if you've ever watched my live streams, our sidewalk is huge out front of the org. And I laid the cane on the ground under the bench. It was the one time, really, literally the one time I was walking back and forth and talking. I had a gimbal then. Now I have a tripod and I stay in one spot. And I turn around and my cane's gone. And I was like, I had that a number of years. And I said, well, I hope whoever stole it really needed it. And so I bought a new one that was purple. And literally a couple weeks later, I somehow didn't get it in the truck when I was loading all my stuff. I must have ran over it in the parking area. And I didn't get it in the car. I probably ran it. So I had to order that one again. So I went through a couple of canes while I've been out. Temple Street. Oh, my husband. So he is security at night in downtown Waco, Texas. And he has to drive to all these properties these people own. And there's a family living in a tent there with kids. And he doesn't know what brought him there or anything. And I said, well, let me know. It's getting cold. I haven't asked them lately, are they still there? I want to make sure they've got warm clothes. So now that I'm thinking about it, I forget things. So I'm going to text him right now and ask him if they're still there. But while I'm thinking about it, so I don't forget. There we go. Is that family still around? See what he says. He hasn't mentioned them, so hopefully they got better accommodations. But yeah, that is hard. But I know that's why I talk about this all the time on my live streams, that the reason I got involved in this community and why I'm still involved is because, oh, really? I have low iron. I've had low iron since high school. It's not anemia, but I could never give blood. It was too low when they would test it. I never heard that. I just thought it was the fibro fog. Huh. I'm going to check into that. I find out so many cool things with you guys. The other day I found out what breed my dog is because I brought him up here. They're like, oh, that's a toy fox terrier. I'm like, I thought it was a Chihuahua mix. I would have never known that. I'm going to definitely check that out. Let me put it on my phone so I won't forget. Let's see. Where can I put it? Iron causes memory loss. I'm going to check into that because I just went off gabapentin. I didn't like the side effects. I didn't like the weight gain, and I didn't like what it was doing to my brain. And I thought my memory would get better, but it hasn't. So I'm going to definitely check that out. Wow. Learn something new every day. I was this many years old when I learned this. Cool. Make sure I caught everything. All right, you guys. I've been on here 2.5 hours. It is 12:35. I know for Becky it's 10:35. My ferritin was at 3. The hematologist asked, oh yeah. And see, I'm worried because of all these meds I've been, so I got sick. I got okay, quickly. I got traumatic fibromyalgia in 2010, 14 years ago, due to my doctor messing up my meds and it shocking my nervous system. Quick version. Before I got sick, I could multitask 4 things at work. I literally could. I never had to write anything down. I could remember everything. I get fibro. I can't even read a magazine article, let alone a novel a week that I used to read. I can't remember anything. I miss appointments all the time, which costs money. And so I put off going on the gabapentin for many, many years. They tried at my pain clinic to do it, but when I injured my disc 5 years ago, I went on it. Well, a couple weeks ago, I went off, hoping it would help my memory, which has not changed. So I worry about that. I read a lot of stuff about early dementia, early Alzheimer's because of my brain issues. And I try to play mind games on my phone, trying to do all this stuff. I try to eat a certain way. It worries me. Yeah. Well, that's what fibro fog is like. So, and a lot of people with fibro, you might have fibro too. A lot of people have it that don't realize. We should talk. If you can, I just want to know what, like, maybe your symptoms are. Because there's a lot of people that aren't getting diagnosed with it. Because it's so weird. It's so many different symptoms that sometimes people don't realize it. This is my email. Okay, that's right. Because I had a nurse at my pain clinic that said she was for sure she had it, especially after we talked in the room, but her doctor wouldn't diagnose her with it. So, we're supposed to have, I'm going to try to gear it up for this next Sunday, like a week from now, because there's a lot of the streamers and that have fibromyalgia that I'm finding out about, or chronic fatigue, not chronic pain. And we're going to have like a stream for fibromyalgia, chronic pain, and talk about things that have worked for us, what hasn't worked for us. And I think I've got a consensus that Saturday afternoon, like 3 to 5 p.m., is a good time for them to come on. You might be interested in coming on. What helped me the most was my diet. Going off gluten. Gluten causes inflammation and pain. Going gluten-free and fresh or frozen produce and not eating processed foods got me out of bed in 2014. Is that right? Yeah, 2014. Okay. Email me now. That's fine. Yeah, I'm the same. I forget everything. I keep a notebook when I'm streaming because I'm like, I will say I'm going to do something and I get home and it's gone. It's totally gone. I used to never watch a movie until 10 or 12 years later because I would remember it too much. Now I can watch a movie, the next day watch it with my husband and not remember what the ending was. I'm like, dang. So this seems to be a common occurrence, especially in our age group. But in general, my daughter, she has fibro. She got it in her 20s due to back-to-back carpal tunnel surgeries. Any kind of trauma. Morgan Freeman has fibro from a car accident. There's celebrities that have it. And I was literally admitted as a psych patient because I went to the emergency room and this doctor that hadn't met me came in to release me. And when they sat me up, my whole body would spasm. You couldn't fake that, to be honest. I've tried. You can't. They said, well, I've never seen symptoms like this. It must be psych. And they literally admitted me for 8 days as a psych patient. Took them a year to diagnose it. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to get off here now, you guys. It's getting pretty late. It's getting close to 1 for me. So it was a great talk. Had fun. I love hanging with you guys. It's like, I feel like it's hanging with friends. And you guys, some of you know, I don't have any friends. Because years ago, I had this crazy toxic friend. And I was like, no more friends. Done. All done. So it's been pretty cool being a part of this community and just hanging out and having a chat. Oh, what meant that one. So it's still amazing to me that even 4 people show up to chat with me. I think it's so fun. I really do. This has been a lot of fun. So tomorrow at 3 is Dianetics, if you guys, any of you are interested. And I will see y'all later. If I don't, have a good week. Good night.